Back in 2018, when I was still in college, I had to drive home for winter break to see my family. It was a long trip almost all the way across the country, so it meant days of endless driving. I was a broke college student, so hotels weren't an option. I had packed a few blankets in my back seat and planned to sleep in my car whenever I got too tired to keep going. After about 12 hours of straight driving one night, I couldn't keep my eyes open anymore. Around midnight, I pulled into a small roadside rest area. It was the kind meant for just a few cars or trucks, with a tiny building that had restrooms and a couple of vending machines. There was only one other car there, parked far in the back, so I chose a spot at the opposite end for privacy. I got out to stretch and use the restroom. It wasn't clean, but I didn't care. I just wanted to get it over with and sleep. When I came back, I was startled to see a man standing right outside my driver's side window, peering into my car. Can I help you?" I asked. My voice made him jump. He laughed nervously and said he was just checking if someone was in the car so he could ask for money for the vending machine. My car had clear, untinted windows, so he didn't need to press his face against them to see. I told him, "Sorry, I don't have cash," and walked around him to get inside. But instead of leaving, he started asking what I was doing out here so late. I explained I was on a road trip and really needed to sleep, so I couldn't talk. He gave a quick sorry wave and walked back to the other car. I felt at least he wasn't just wandering around the rest stop for no reason. Honestly, I was so tired that I didn't even think much about it. I shoved everything from the front seat into the back, reclined my seat, and tried to get comfortable. I had just closed my eyes when I noticed headlights shifting outside. Looking in the mirror, I saw the man's car had moved right behind mine. That was enough for me. I sat up, started the engine, and got back on the highway. I was irritated. This meant I'd have to drive another half hour at least before finding another place to rest. The road ahead didn't have many stops, and I was dangerously sleepy. My eyes kept shutting for a second or two at a time before I forced them open. Eventually, I found another rest area, but it looked abandoned. The building was boarded up, covered in graffiti, and falling apart. Still, it was somewhere to park, and I told myself I'd only stay for a few hours. The place was so quiet, and I was so exhausted, that I passed out within minutes. I must have gotten 2 solid hours of sleep before I woke up to a loud crash against my car. The whole vehicle shook. My heart was racing as I looked in the side mirror and saw a pair of headlights behind me. Then I turned my head and froze. There was a man right outside my passenger side door holding a metal baseball bat. He swung again, shattering my rear window. It was the same man from the other rest stop. He stepped closer, grinning in a way that made my stomach drop, and began yelling "liar" over and over as he smashed the bat into the glass. I had no idea what he thought I'd lied about, but I managed to start my car and speed away before things got worse. My hands were shaking as I called 911. I met an officer at a gas station and explained what happened. 2 windows were broken, my doors were dented, and one of my tires had been slashed so badly it was almost flat. Another officer checked the abandoned rest stop but found only broken glass. The man was gone. Patrol cars searched for his vehicle but came up empty. I was stuck in a small town for several days, waiting for repairs before I could finally get home. To this day, I don't understand why that man targeted me. Maybe it was because I wouldn't give him money, or maybe just because I didn't want to talk to him at midnight on the side of the highway. Either way, the fact that it could have cost me my life is terrifying. I was on a long road trip with my friend Nolan to visit some old friends from university. The drive was going to take around 15 hours, but we figured with both of us taking turns behind the wheel, we could do it in one go. I started driving first, and about 4 hours later, Nolan took over. The plan was for me to get some sleep while he drove, but I just couldn't. I don't know why, but I couldn't get comfortable no matter how I tried. By the time it was my turn to drive again, I was even more tired than before. I could still keep my eyes open and focus on the road, but somehow I completely missed the fact that the gas tank was running dangerously low. We were in Nolan's old pickup, which didn't have any modern alert systems, just an old-school gauge. I hadn't glanced at once. It wasn't until the engine started sputtering that I realized we were completely out of gas. Nolan woke up right away and started looking for the nearest gas station on his phone. But within less than a minute, the truck couldn't accelerate anymore, and I had to pull over on the side of the highway. Nolan said the nearest station was about 4 miles ahead. We were surrounded by nothing but flat, empty land. No other cars, no buildings, just open road. After debating our options, Nolan decided to walk to the gas station and bring back fuel while I stayed with the truck. It was already around 1 in the morning, pitch black outside, but he didn't seem concerned. Within a minute, he was out of sight. A couple of minutes later, I noticed headlights approaching from ahead. The vehicle passed me slowly, much slower than the speed limit. I watched it in the side mirror, and instead of speeding up, it slowed. Even more, came to a complete stop, then turned around. This time, it passed even slower, crawling along at maybe 5 miles an hour. I could feel whoever was inside looking right at me before they picked up speed and drove back the way they came. My gut tightened. I kept scanning the road, half expecting them to return. I tried calling Nolan to warn him, but the call went unanswered. I called again, still nothing. My anxiety spiked. Against better judgment, I decided to leave the truck and try to catch up with him. I locked up and started jogging down the side of the road. That the silence out there was unsettling, so still that I could hear the ringing in my ears. I jogged for about 15 minutes, expecting to see Nolan by then, but there was no sign of him. I pulled out my phone to call again, and just then, I heard the faint sound of a ringtone somewhere off the road. Looking out into the grass, I spotted the glow of a phone screen in the darkness. My chest tightened. I stepped carefully off the road, calling his name. From somewhere near the phone, I finally heard his voice, faint, urgent, telling me to get down. I crouched immediately, and that's when I saw the same vehicle coming down the road again, creeping slowly like before. The driver was clearly searching for us. They passed by several times, making slow turnarounds, scanning the area. When it seemed they had finally driven away, Nolan emerged from the grass, and we sprinted together toward the gas station. On the way, he told me the man in the car had pulled over earlier and tried to convince him to get inside. His tone and behavior made it obvious he had bad intentions. When Nolan refused, the man got out, and Nolan bolted into the darkness. The guy must have assumed he stayed on the road, because he got back in his car and started searching. At some point, Nolan's phone fell from his pocket while running, and he didn't dare retrieve it for fear of giving away his position. We eventually made it to the gas station and got the help we needed. We reported the incident to the police, describing the man and his vehicle, but they never found him. Even now, I feel guilty for putting us in that situation. One thing's certain, I'll never let a gas tank run dry again. This happened back in 2017. At that time, I hardly ever went on road trips. I was usually too busy to take several days off just to drive somewhere, let alone spend more days enjoying the vacation. But I was between jobs when my family started planning a surprise 55th birthday party for my uncle. Gas prices were much cheaper back then, and flying would have cost way more. Since I wasn't working at the time, I decided I'd drive instead. I planned the trip to take 3 days so I wouldn't be too exhausted. After the first day of driving, I pulled into a roadside motel for the night. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was fine for one night. I slept in until around 11 in the morning. As I packed up and opened the door to leave, I was startled to see a man standing right in the doorway. He didn't move much when I tried to pass, which made it even more awkward. He looked to be in his mid-40s, with dark circles under his eyes and a cold, unfriendly expression. As I loaded the rest of my things into the car, he just stood outside my room, watching me. It was unsettling, but I was glad I wasn't staying there any longer. I checked out and got back on the road, ready for my longest day of driving about 10 hours ahead. The first half of the drive went fine. I passed through several towns and cities before the scenery turned into long empty stretches of road. When I realized towns were becoming rare, I stopped at the next gas station to fill up. After paying and starting the pump, I went inside to grab a coffee. When I came back out, I noticed a deep red, older model Corolla parked extremely close to the back of my car, close enough that it looked like the bumper was touching mine. No one was outside putting gas in it, and the windows were so tinted I couldn't see inside. Still, I had the uncomfortable feeling that someone was watching me. I quickly finished filling up, got back in my car, and left. Almost immediately, the red Corolla pulled out too, without ever getting gas, and merged behind me onto the highway. I tried to tell myself it was just a coincidence, but I kept noticing it a few cars back, as the sun set. I couldn't clearly tell which cars were which, and eventually I stopped worrying about it. For more hours passed without seeing that car again, and I nearly forgot about it. My bigger problem now was staying awake. The next big city was still 2 hours away, and I really wanted to make it there to get a nicer hotel and maybe explore. The city in the morning. If I could keep my eyes open, I decided to stop for another coffee. More to keep myself busy sipping on something than for the caffeine. I pulled off at the next gas station, but the store section was closed. Disappointed, I decided to fill up my tank anyway. Almost immediately after I started pumping gas, I saw headlights coming down the empty highway toward the exit ramp. Gas station was already creepy, just a small, dimly lit place with nothing else around. When I recognized the car coming down as the same deep red Corolla from earlier, my heart started racing. I quickly finished putting the nozzle back, but the car pulled in fast, going straight to the side of my car instead of the pumps. I managed to get into the driver's seat just before the passenger door of their car opened. A man jumped out and came straight toward my door, trying to open it without hesitation. The instant I saw his face, I recognized him. It was the same man from the motel. His tired, menacing eyes sent a chill through my whole body. I started the car, and when he realized the door was locked, he stopped trying, but instead of looking angry, he smiled. A wide, unsettling grin, like this was all some kind of sick game to him. I floored it out of there, racing back to the highway, and didn't stop until I reached the city. Thankfully, I don't think they followed me that time. But what still disturbs me is that the man came from the passenger side of the car, meaning someone else was driving. They had followed me for over 10 hours from the motel, maybe even longer without me knowing. It's been years since that trip, but I still can't shake how terrifying it was. If you enjoyed these chilling stories, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true horror tales.